This video is inspired by a video that I had. Hello, it's December 2024, and this video is inspired by another video that I had seen recently, and it really hit home for me with regards to my story. And I did talk to a friend about this particular video and the story it exposes with police corruption in Calgary, Alberta. And this person had said to me that this makes my story more credible, because it's like, yes, this type of thing does happen, and here's an example of this type of thing happening. Now, for those who don't really know my story began in 2012 when I started to expose the sex trafficking, sexual abuse of vulnerable women at a nonprofit mental health organization. And by May 4th, 2013, the Calgary police got involved. Now, I suppose you can say the Calgary police got involved in December 2012, but my story is just so out there. Hollywood couldn't have written a better story, and I've said this over the many, many years. But this story in this video really hit home for me on how corrupt it is in Calgary, Alberta, and perhaps Alberta overall. Alberta has two major cities, and then there's a whole bunch of little towns in between, kind of scattered. Alberta is a very isolated province, and they pretty much do whatever they want to do with next to no, if any, repercussions. And it's interesting now to see, after all the years of my efforts exposing all of this, how more and more we're seeing, especially the Calgary police, being put in the spotlight and at times being held accountable, which would only be a fraction of what really goes on there. Now, I'm not stating or implying that I'm taking, or I should have some credit to this, but perhaps my efforts put the spotlight on them nationwide, getting, for example, even pressure from the federal level. But again, it is what it is. But the corruption in this story really highlights how wealthy people can control the Calgary police. Now, I'm just going to stop here for a second. I'm not stating or implying all police are bad in Calgary, Alberta. There's some good ones there. And again, this is not stating or implying anything to do with any other police departments anywhere else. Nowhere is perfect, and everyone has skeletons in their closet, but I digress. So this story had to do with what, if I recall correctly, a wealthy individual who basically had, call it, some domestic issues with custody, and hired 3 police, and there was others involved in all this, to basically stalk his ex-wife and harassed her for a couple of years. And apparently there was misuse of CPIC. It is a descriptive police computer database. And I've highlighted over the years how even politicians have said that as a descriptive CPIC is broken. And there's a lot of articles where it's being misused all the time. And being kind of on the inside of that world, they even use that, for example, to vet when they're dating someone, when they meet someone, they run them through CPIC just to check them out, which they're not supposed to do. But anyway, I digress again. I've talked about all these things in other videos. So this wealthy person paid off the Calgary police, and there is a private investigation firm that was involved and everything else. And now 3 of these members and former members of the Calgary police are or have been charged. Now, I was going to highlight something here. Being charged and being convicted are 2 different things. Basically, in layman's terms, being charged is an allegation. You can have false allegations and true allegations, but that's really what a charge is. I'm simplifying this really a lot. Conviction is when someone is found that the allegation is true. Now, we also have, for example, as with my case, wrongful convictions, and this happens all the time. Mainstream everything downplays it a lot because they have to maintain what's called public trust at all costs. But anyway, I've talked about all that again in older videos as well. But this story really highlights what goes on, or what can go on, in Calgary, Alberta. And I had faced the same thing there with my story. Now, this was a domestic thing, just kind of use that descriptive. Now imagine wealthy people potentially being exposed to something horrific like the abuse or trafficking of vulnerable women. They will do whatever it takes to silence someone. They will destroy that individual and use, for example, legal means to achieve whatever goal, because most people assume that, for example, the legal system is true and just, and it couldn't be further away from the truth. So if there's ever any doubt about my story and how this is even possible, well, this story in this video shows the reality and how possible it is, and it does happen, not just to me, but to other people. And that's really all I want to say, is bring attention to this. And the person who has this channel, it seems like this channel is relatively new, so be sure to subscribe to this channel and help them along, because it seems like they're trying to get some stories out of what's going on in Alberta, specifically Calgary, but they're not limited to Calgary. That's all I want to say. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people say, when is it going to get easier? When you die.